Hey, what's going on, my friend? It's Jeff Newpert from ChasingStrength.com. In today's video, we are answering the question, which kettlebell exercises build muscle the best, and why does it actually matter? All right, let's dive into this. So let me ask you another question before we answer the original two questions. Have you ever wondered about this? Like, which one of these kettlebell exercises should I be doing to maximize my muscle growth? Right? I used to. And I used to have a definitive answer, right? Like I knew for sure, 100% for sure. But now, after the last 20 plus years, and maybe I'm mellowing out a little bit with age, my answer has changed, at least somewhat. Okay. Now, one thing's for sure. It's most definitely not the kettlebell swing, okay? It's not that I'm hating on the swing, not at all. It's just that the swing doesn't create enough tension throughout the entire body, which is one of the key mechanisms for muscle growth. It doesn't use enough muscle either, especially in the upper body. So if you're looking to build upper body muscle from doing swings, well, you're going to be sorely disappointed, okay? So, in fact, I may actually even argue be better off watching paint dry. Now, what should you use instead? Which exercises, or exercise even, is it just one? Is it limited to one, or multiple exercises should you use if you truly want to get about the business of packing on some mass in the upper body or the lower body with ye oldie kettlebells, as they said back in the 12th century, right? So here's the answer. It's actually twofold. It's any exercise that one maximizes a muscle or particular muscle group through a full range of motion. All right. Or number two, it maximizes the loading or load or the stress that's run across the muscle or through the muscle, right? Or on said muscle groups. Okay. So let's break that down even further. Generally speaking, for the upper body, we have the military press or the push press. Okay. Now these can be the single or double versions. All right. So you have the single military press, the single push press, the double military press, and the double push press. Now, personally, here's again what I've noticed over the last 20 plus years, right, since 2002. Okay, that double kettlebell work demands more output from your body, and so it creates what's called systemic stress, more systemic stress actually than or when compared to single kettlebell work. Okay, and for the lower body, we have the squat. Again, this can be single or double. So we have, for singles, we have the goblet squat, right? That's where you hold the kettlebell by the horns. Or you flip it upside down. Okay, so the bottom of the bell is face up. Right, I'm not cover my face here, but the bottom of the bell is up, pointing toward the sky or the ceiling, and you're holding it by the handles or the horns. Or you can even hold it like a cup, right, or the goblet. Okay, hence the name. So that's the first single kettlebell squat. And then the second one is the single kettlebell front squat. That's just where you hold one kettlebell in the rack. Okay, it's an offset squat. Okay. And then from there, we have the double kettlebell squat. Some people are going to say, yeah, but for the double kettlebell squat, do you have to use symmetrical weights? No, you don't have to. Okay. They don't have to be a pair of 24s or 16s or 32s. You can use a 20 and a 24, a 32 and a 28, or a 24 and a 32, or a 32 and a 40, whatever you got, right, available to you at that particular moment. Just make sure that you're switching sides, heavy, light, light, heavy between sets. Okay. Or alternating sets, I should say. And again, single versus double, we're going to go for the double version of the squat every single time. Why? Because like the double kettlebell press, it's more weight that you're using. So the body is exposed to more load. So it creates more systemic stress. Okay. And that creates more potential for growth. Now, you may be wondering, well, those are slow exercises, right? What about some of the ballistic exercises? Are there ballistic exercises, right? The fast, explosive exercises, kettlebell exercises that create muscle growth? And yeah, there are. So let's cover them. Okay. So first up, we have the double clean. And then next we have the double snatch. Those are two of the best ones. And technically, the push press, which we covered earlier, is also a ballistic exercise, or at least some may call it a quasi-ballistic exercise. Okay. Now, all of these ballistic exercises produce muscle, right, depending on the loads you use. Okay, so what do I mean by loads? Well, I mean weight, I mean sets, I mean reps. Okay, so technically it's volume/density, that sort of thing. Here's where things become more interesting, okay? And that is when you start combining the exercises. So let's say you're going to alternate sets, which means you perform one set of one exercise, then you rest, and then perform a set of a second exercise. Okay, and then you go back and forth between the two exercises. So let's just say you perform a set of double military press, you rest, and then you perform a set of double front squats. Okay, so that's alternating sets. Supersets, very similar, but there's no rest between the exercises, between the first and the second exercise. And then there's rest after the second exercise before you start a set of the first exercise again, right? So again, it would be double military press, followed immediately by double front squats, then rest. Now, here's something really important to remember, and pay attention here because this is where many guys fall down, right? The more time under tension you create, either through reps or combining exercises, the more fatigue you create and the more tired you get, okay? Now, why is that important? Because when fatigue is injected into the equation here, then you produce less force. It's physically impossible to produce as much force when you're fatigued as when you're not fatigued, okay? And that is why your rep speed slows down, and in some cases, you can no longer perform another rep. And that means your rest will increase, and your total volume, work performed, may decrease. And that's, again, depending on how much fatigue you create in your workout or from your training session, okay? Now, there is a sweet spot, and that's the point where you are challenged, but not so much that you can't breathe and your technique falls apart, okay? And by the way, as an aside, it's this point, right, where you can't breathe and your technique falls apart, that most guys get injured. Now, here's where the rubber meets the road, right? And this is where you actually apply the information, okay? So in practical terms, the best kettlebell exercises for you, right, to build muscle are the exercises that you can, A, physically do. In other words, there are no injuries limiting you. B, right, you know how to do, and or you're willing to learn to take the time to do. And C, you have the right kettlebells to actually do them. All right. Now, I've personally found, and professionally, obviously, over the years that you just cannot go wrong. It's practically fail-safe on a steady diet of clean and presses 3 times a week to pack muscle across your shoulders, your upper back, your upper arms, and your forearms. Okay. Double clean and presses are better than single clean and presses, of course, due to the systemic demand. But both are good, right? So don't feel like you have to choose, right? Like if you don't feel like you're forced to only do double kettlebell work, right? And you're going to miss out somehow if you do single kettlebell work, okay? Both produce results. Now, what if you've got good knees and you want to squat? Well, great. Throw in some double kettlebell front squats or goblet squats, if you will, right? And then make your weights feel what we call heavy-ish, okay? In other words, they're heavy enough to get and keep your attention, but they're not so heavy that low-grade panic, right? You felt that? Like you lift something like, oh my goodness, this is heavier than I thought, right? You don't want that low-grade panic to set in. Or it's so heavy that you have to alter your technique, right, in order to get the reps in. So here's a question you may be wondering, what if you don't have heavy-ish kettlebells? Well, let's cover that in the next video or so, okay? But in the meantime, if you need some resources to build muscle using your kettlebells, I'll leave links in the description below this video to some of my best muscle building kettlebell programs for you. Okay, if you found this video helpful, click the like button, smash the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, share it with a friend, leave me a comment about your favorite kettlebell muscle building exercises in the comment section below. All right, until next time, my friend, stay strong.